I told my German concentration camp guide that the Nazis sent people over to the US to learn about Jim Crow and see what they wanted to apply. And they also learned from slavery. She disagreed with me and was like, no, this started here in the early 19th century. And I was like, well, you know, we were doing in the early 19th century. And while I still disagree with her that they had no inspiration from us in the States, and I will be writing one hell of a Substack on the parallels, trust. It was so refreshing to talk to someone who wasn't trying to blame someone else. Because I get on here as a white woman in America talking about white people problems we need to fix. And my fellow pales get so defensive. And we are raised to be that way. I get it. I still have that muscle in my body that I'm actively trying to weaken. Trying to starve it. Oh, that wasn't good. Talking about the Holocaust. Trying to strengthen other muscles. Like listening. Making amends. Accountability. But can you imagine that in the States if someone said, well, you know, you actually got all of this from England. And we said, no, no, no. This is on us. What a different world we would live in. And Germany's not perfect. They still have the AfD. But that same guy told us at the end, and I have heard this from Germans before, they raised their children not to think that what happened was their fault, because they weren't alive, but to know that it is their responsibility to make sure it never, ever happens again. And German children have to attend in K through 12 a concentration camp, and that trip is funded by the nation. That is how seriously they take this. And I'm American, and I'm in the UK right now, and I can go ahead and tell you neither of these countries have done that. I don't know of any other major Western country that's done it, and it wasn't immediate. I learned that on the trip too, that it was not an immediate shift from Nazis to, relief, right? Or, we're going to take accountability. It was not until the late 1960s that the German government started reforming, and I'm sure that was in Western Germany. I don't know about in East Germany because they had all that going on with the wall and such. We need to change what we teach in schools. They even changed their national anthem to not be as nationalist, putting it in quotes, not because I disagree, but because it's not my anthem, so I'm like, that's their words. And that we need to have conversations with our children about this in school and educate them about what happened, how it happened, and that it needs to not happen again. And arguably, Germany's the only place that's done this because they got caught. No other of the Western powers, like I said, US, UK, France, Portugal, has been busted by another major power who was like, this is not okay. And to be clear, the U.S. busted him, and there's that famous general, I don't remember his name, who recorded what he found in the concentration camps because he was so horrified. But our government still took a lot of those Yahtzee doctors and brought them over to us, used them, and even one of them even got one of the Nobel Prizes. Do I think it was the same general who did that? No. I think the general who actually saw was probably like, what the fuck? But, I talk a lot about the white collar removal from actions. No. The power hungry back home with Jim Crow still going on, Jim Crow South was like, bring him over here. So there's a lot to say on this, and I will be writing about it. And can you imagine what it would be like to live somewhere that talks about what happened, what has happened, and intentionally revamps to make sure it doesn't happen again? And those fuckers in the AfD still there, but I hope that this works out for Germany. I really do, because we need to see what needs to be done to heal. How I know a lot of this is from the book Cast by Isabel Wilkerson, who is like a critically acclaimed journalist, and it's some of the most beautiful writing I've ever read. Like, difficult subject, but phenomenal. It compares the American Jim Crow, Yahtzee Germany, and the Indian caste system. If you're interested in learning more about this book, you can always check your local library, but I do have it linked in my bio in my recommended reads at bookshop.org. And if you're going to buy it and you buy it here, yes, part of the commission does go to me, but it also goes to supporting an independent, Black-owned, woman-owned bookshop in my second hometown, Washington, D.C. And I do say my second hometown because my first hometown is too small to have a bookshop. So of course, check your library. Very good book. I've made several videos about it in my Dr. K Reads playlist. You can also see a lot of the other books like Why Are So Many Incompetent Men Leaders in my bookshop as well. Support your library, but there are other options besides Amazon, people.